You ever hear scratching in the ceiling at 2 a.m. or noises coming from within your walls? Let me just tell you this. It's not the house settling and it's not your pipes. It is rodents. And I'll tell you this for nothing. Once they're there, they're not going anywhere. And you hear one, there'll be 100. Do yourself a favour and jump onto pestrol.com.au and get yourself a Pestrol rodent-free Max. Now, the people next door, when they moved in, Baz and his lovely wife, they said, we've got a couple of possums in the roof. I said, aha, have I got the product for you? And so we got them the Pestrol possum deterrent. Possums gone in 3 days. I said, Baz, how's the possums? He said, they've gone. Doesn't hurt them. It just drove them away to live somewhere else. Pestrol. Use my code at the checkout, BONA. Don't forget it, and you'll get yourself free delivery. Head to pestrol.com.au. Pestrol. Problem solved.
In a world where voices are silenced,
Please.
one man refuses to lie down.
It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
He's been punted not once,
40 years they've been trying.
not twice,
You couldn't fire somebody if they were horrible, doing a terrible job.
but 3 times.
You're fired.
He doesn't tell you what to think, but gives you something to think about. Welcome to the Bonafide Podcast with Luke Boner. And he's not
All right, here we go.
done
Hold your ears, folks.
yet.
It's showtime.
Hey, g'day, and welcome to another Bonafide Podcast, episode 107. We've got the number right today. Very good. She's had it written on her hand.
It wasn't right for the man cave session, but whatever.
Oh, look, who cares?
Yeah, well, you care.
Well, if we get to episode 150, we want to be right this time because you weren't sure about episode 100.
Yeah, I'm still pretty sure that, the counting was off there, but that's all right.
Okay, so we're up to date. 107. Big thanks to Pestrol and my very good mate Andrew Fennell, who runs Pestrol, who sponsor this episode. And a constant reminder that the merch store is now open.
Yes, and also just remember to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to the show. It really does help us find new audiences. So,
It does.
Thanks.
It really, really does. Now, there's a bit to get to today. We're going to talk to our resident GP, Dr. Philip Norrie, Australia's most degreed doctor, about this Hantavirus. 5 Australians are going to be repatriated from Holland. They'll be arriving in
Holland.
Perth at a specially constructed quarantine facility. There are 4 citizens. One is a permanent resident, and then there's another person from New Zealand. And there's a lot of, what is this virus? Is it as bad as COVID as some
No.
media will try and tell you? Is it just another virus? Because we're always going to have viruses, and viruses are tricky little bastards that keep reinventing themselves. That's why we have a new influenza vaccine every year, because it changes. But what is the recommended quarantine time? Because the World Health Organization is saying 42 days. But the Australians, Kelsey, are only going to be in for 22. And the question is, why aren't we going with the recommendation of who? We'll find out.
Maybe they have to, after like the main quarantine period, they have to like self-quarantine at home or something.
Well, all I'm saying is Mark Butler has said they've got it covered. The World Health Organization is recommending a 42-day quarantine stint, but the Australians will only be in for about 22.
Well, maybe they've done contact tracing where they've realised that the people that these people have come into contact with are like have a really low chance of being infected.
We'll talk about it with Dr. Norrie, and we'll talk about exactly what this virus is. But you would hope that every single passenger on that ship is going to be traced so that you can, during the quarantine period, because this thing takes about 3 weeks to incubate, apparently. COVID was a lot quicker before. So you could be having this virus, Kelsey, and you won't know it for 3 weeks. That's basically what they're saying. You won't show any symptoms.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, this doesn't spread anywhere near as easily as COVID does. COVID could be like aspirated. You could just get it from being near somebody because they have droplets in the air. This is a lot harder to catch than COVID is. And it's difficult to pass on between, not to say it's not dangerous. I think it's got worse outcomes if more people got it.
Do you think that the world's, or the media, I should say, do you think the clickbait media is overreacting because, you see the footage of people coming off the boats in all their gear and being sprayed and they're going, oh, here's another COVID. This will get us some clicks.
Yeah, I don't like the fear mongering because I just think, why do we need to panic before we need to panic? It doesn't help anyone. It just doesn't help anyone.
Anybody. But is it better to be cautious?
Yeah, but there is a fine line, right? There is a fine line between being cautious and just being a dum-dum.
Okay. We'll talk about that with Dr. Philip Norrie a bit later in this podcast, so I'd love you to stay listening for that. Also, the federal budget came down on Tuesday, and as speculation proved to be correct, and after many, many, many promises, over 50 times being asked, was capital gains tax going to be touched and was negative gearing going to be touched, told absolutely not, off the table over and over and over again, and then what happened? Now, the media is absolutely focusing on broken promises. But I'm going to talk to Chief Economist from AMP, Shane Oliver, about the budget, how it's going to affect us. Will, in fact, the changes to negative gearing and capital gains tax help young Australians get into a home? Because if it does and if it works, people will say, promises, schmomises, you made the right move. If it has no effect, and remember, they've got 2 years until the next federal election, well, then the broken promises will be once again the focus. But can I just say something else about broken promises? There's a lot more to breaking an election promise than just meets the eye. Now, when you are talking about our taxation system, which is really, really convoluted, it's all written in law. Now, the law parameters for these proposed changes, Kelsey, have actually not been written yet. It has to be written into law. And then, Kelsey, it has to go to vote in the Senate. Now, if the Senate knocks it back, it goes back to the House of Reps. There is up to a 3-month cooling off period, and they put it to the Senate again. If it's rejected in the Senate, they'll tweak it because they'll want the legislation passed. If it is rejected a second time, that can trigger a double dissolution. The dissolving of both houses of Parliament. But it's up to the Prime Minister to go to the Governor-General to ask for that early election. That would only happen if the Prime Minister believes he or she cannot govern because they can't get legislation through the Senate. So there's a bit to this before it all comes into law. But the point I'm going to make to you, Kelsey, is this. If you structure a financial and taxation system on guarantees, people, whether it be mum and dad, whether it be a farmer, whether it be someone opening a restaurant or a cafe, or whether it's manufacturing, people base their business plans within the legal parameters that are available to them. They will look at the tax laws and then structure their business.
Yeah.
If you say one thing and guarantee that this is not going to be changed, and then you change it, that creates a distrust in investment. And you will have people saying, gee whiz, we thought these were the rules. These are going to be changed and taken back 20 years retrospectively. It's going to be much easier to invest overseas.
Oh my God. I just think this is so rich. You can find an example of every single Prime Minister. John Howard, he said he would never introduce GST. What did he do? He introduced GST.
I know, that's where you're wrong. John Howard went to... Kelsey, John Howard went to the election with the GST. He went to the election with it, Kelsey. It was a huge gamble and he got up. No, he went to the election with the GST. You better check your facts, Kelsey, because I know. John Howard went to the election proposing a goods and services tax. So too did Paul Keating, but back then it was option C of the tax package, and it was called a consumption tax.
Former Australian Prime Minister John Howard famously declared in 1995 that a goods and services tax would never ever be part of his policy, describing it as dead. Despite this, he introduced a 10% GST in 2000, which became a defining,
he went to the next
contentious
election,
and eventually accepted
he
tax
said
reform.
it wouldn't happen in 95. He went to the next election declaring he is going to introduce it, Kelsey. Peter Costello was his treasurer, and they went to the next election announcing that was their plan, and they got over the line. So
even still though, like
in 95 he didn't. In 95 he didn't. But in the next election he did, but announced it before. He announced it before the election.
This is what Anthony Albanese is doing. He's going to the next election saying, now we are getting rid of negative gearing.
And we'll see how he
Anthony Albanese is doing exactly the same thing. So let me finish, because I just think it's so bloody rich that like everyone's getting up in arms about this, but you can find examples of this across the whole political spectrum since the beginning of the Australian Parliament.
Okay, but this is fiscal policy.
I'm not finished.
Wait, hang on, whose podcast is this?
I am not finished.
Oh God, is she ever finished?
I think Anthony Albanese is doing something which is actually going to help him win. He is not appealing to you. He is appealing to younger voters who at the moment have the largest voting base. And I tell you what, they're very happy about the fact that they... Exactly.
They are absolutely abandoning. Well, hang on. Let's ask Shane Oliver. Stay listening. Let's ask Shane Oliver, who is apolitical. He's an economist. we'll ask him, will this work? Will it help the Kelseys of this world get into a house?
Well,
we'll ask him the question.
Let's just remember that and don't get me wrong, love Shane. I know he's unbiased, but also let's just remember that every bank in this country has some type of political agenda, and that trickles down to the economics that they
well, let's ask Shane Oliver. He's the expert. I'm not. But Howard didn't introduce it in 95. He introduced it at the next election and gave plenty of warning he was going to do it.
That's exactly what Anthony Albanese is doing. That is like literally the playbook of what Anthony Albanese is doing.
Okay.
So get off your high horse.
There'll be no carbon tax under any government I lead. Remember that one? I tell you something Howard did do.
That's what I'm saying. They all do it. They all do it. They all say never ever, and then it comes to the next election and they do it.
Hey, do you remember John Howard also said that there were the refugees, the boat people were throwing children overboard, and that was completely false. So anyway, can we move on?
Oh, who else we got? Man Cave.
Oh, and guest star Larry Canning. We're going to talk about the rise and fall and even further fall of LIV Golf, but we're not just going to talk about golf. We're going to talk about big money
sports washing
in sport, and is it good for the sport? Massive money with the IPL, massive money with LIV Golf. Super League broke rugby league, but it meant more, eventually down the track, more money for the players. And we're going to talk about sports washing. So watch this space.
Interesting topic.
Something to think about, something to laugh about. We're talking.
Now, Angus Taylor, at the dropping of today's podcast, he has his budget reply. One of his policies is he's expected to link migration numbers with new house builds, but the other thing is the proposal is to prevent non-Australian citizens from accessing welfare. And on the surface, you think, why should someone who's not an Australian citizen get welfare? Well, what about people who are here on visas that haven't yet taken up citizenship but are working hard here and paying taxes here? Aren't they contributing to the country as well? Or do you think you have to be a citizen before you can access any form of welfare? You watch, this will be a massive talking point this week.
Let's just remember that if immigration was tied to housing supply as much as the coalition wants us to believe, we would have seen housing prices drop significantly through COVID. What happened? No, they rose by an historic 20%. So that's one part of the problem here.
That's true.
Second, housing supply has actually increased more than population growth has in Australia. And so what that suggests is that housing supply is a lot more complex than just pinning it on one sole issue. And my third point, Luke, is the people that are actually building the houses, contributing to the economy in terms of trade services, a lot of where that comes from in Australia is immigrants. We talk about on Truckee Tuesday all the time. Obviously, there are issues when it comes to, education around driving on the road safely, learning English. There are absolutely issues with the system, but it is no secret that we need immigrants to keep the country running.
Do you know
and
what?
so I just think this whole thing is just smoke and mirrors.
Okay,
smoke and mirrors.
Just calm your farm.
I can't, Luke. It grinds my
Do you
gears
remember when
so
you used
much.
to say that to me? I'd get upset about something you'd done and you'd say, calm the farm. God, that used to drive me mad.
Yeah.
I was having an interesting chat with my other daughter, Chook, yesterday, and we were talking about immigration, and she said, you know what? What about at that nursing home where Grandma Joan was? And we're talking about people who need their asses wiped, sores dressed. They're people going through dementia who are not themselves. They're bad-tempered. They can be violent. And at Mum's second nursing home, where she ended up passing away, nearly every single beautiful Florence Gate Nightingale nurse was from the Philippines.
Exactly.
And Chook said, why? Because most people don't want those jobs. She said, who was going to do it? I'm bringing up a point.
I know, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I just think you can literally look this up online. The Australian Institute has done so much research around this, and it is undeniable that the number of residential dwellings has grown faster than the population. There are much bigger issues as to why housing prices are just through the roof and people can't get access to housing. And a lot of it actually has to do with what, Luke? Negative gearing and capital gains tax. This all started in the 2000s when these things were, introduced, because investors rushed into the market betting that they're going to be able to make money off this 50% tax-free profit. And that's exactly what happened. And I'm not saying that immigration's got nothing to do with it. I'm just saying that this is a complex web of issues. And to say that it is solely on immigration is just, honestly, it's bullshit.
Why don't you start your own podcast again?
I will.
Well, you're coattailing off mine.
Rack off.
Rack off. Oh, God, there's an Aussie expression you don't hear.
Sorry, it's just these topics really grind my gears.
Okay, well, just settle down now.
They just grind my gears.
Settle down. Go and take another pill.
I will.
2.
Chill pill.
2.
Just swallow the whole bloody jar at this point.
Listen, that tragic story out of the Northern Territory about little Kamanjai, little baby, the little girl that was, I've got to say allegedly because it's before the courts, allegedly kidnapped and murdered by an Alice Springs man at a town camp. Prior to her death, Kelsey, she had been the subject of 6 child protection notices. 3 child protection caseworkers from the Northern Territory's Department of Children and Families were suspended from their roles in connection with the case. The man allegedly responsible for this has a history of violence. Senator Jacinta Napajimba Price, who is related to this little girl, broke down in tears in the Senate this week. And she's asking a very relevant question. How could this be? How could this little girl, forget the colour of her skin, but there are Indigenous people living in these camps, like my mother did. She lived in a camp, and they called it the Mission, Kelsey, the Mission, blackfellas only. And the conditions are just third world. How is it that a child can come under the radar to authorities, and this bloke who has a history, why wasn't she taken away and put into protection? Is that a reasonable question? And
absolutely.
And Jacinta Price has been talking about this as long as I've known her, which is a long time now. And she says there's a double standard, that in an Aboriginal community, a remote community, the authorities really don't want to take the kids away from their families because they're scared stiff of being accused of another stolen generation. Now, if there was a non-Aboriginal kid in danger in an area like this, the authorities would put that child into safety. According to Senator Price, they are not likely to do it. They don't take these things lightly in the case of Aboriginal children because they don't want to take them away from their communities. It's a double standard. And this little girl deserved better protection.
I know. It's really easy to blame the people directly around this child, and they're not blameless. But I think we have to acknowledge the system that exists around it. So there has been significant evidence of inequity in social services
But this little girl was subject to 6 child protection notices. and she was allowed to stay there in danger.
I know. Listen to me. There is severe inequity in social services funding and delivery for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities in Australia. Despite higher needs, many programs targeting First Nation outcomes are underfunded or fail to reach those in remote areas. So what I'm saying, Luke, is we know that social service funding, right, it is underfunded in remote areas when it comes to social services. So what I'm trying to say, Luke, is that this should never have happened, but it is the system that's to blame. If you can report a crime, Luke, but then what happens after that point? If there's no one there to report, to take that report, give it to the next person in line to take care of that child, then what can you do, right? So all I'm saying is the failing here comes down to the system that allowed this to happen.
Okay, but you say it's underfunded. I put it to you that we throw an enormous amount of money at Aboriginal welfare and the money is misspent. And there needs to be a trail of exactly how much money is spent, where and when and how. And if you ask too many questions, for example, donations to land councils, if you say, I want to know exactly how that money has been spent, you're racist. Well, it's public money. We need to know. We need to know how that money is being spent.
That's fine, but you need to put those same... It needs to happen across the board. It can't just... I think
I
the
agree.
issue... Again, Luke, this comes down to funding the system. There needs to be somebody, a department, actual people on the ground tracking these things, right? That costs money. So if nobody is willing to fund the system, then all of these things are just wishes, right?
Okay, Kelsey, guess how much money is spent annually, both federally and state, on Aboriginal welfare? It is in excess of $30 billion. In fact, about $34 billion. $34 billion. Where is that money going? How is it being spent? Is it not being spent wisely? Where is the money going? Over $30 billion on Aboriginal welfare, Kels.
How much is spent on everything else, right? Like, just remember that Aboriginal people in this country have been systematically disadvantaged for like hundreds of years, right? They are a group in this country that do need extra care. But the issue that I've also seen is that a lot of the programs that were targeted in these communities were white people's solutions to a coloured problem, right? Like, we know for a fact that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, they respond to culturally inclusive programs. When you try and give a Aboriginal child white solutions to a problem, force them to partake in a white school system that does not align with how they live their lives at home, of course you're going to get bad outcomes. And culturally inclusive programs have only really started to come into the spotlight in the last decade. So we've got generations worth of work to do here. And I'm not saying that give everyone a free pass, let them spend money however they want, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it's the system that is broken here. It is this system that is broken. It's not the...
I think Aboriginal children should be taught to speak English. I would love to speak lingo, but there are so many different lingos. I'll tell you a story. I may have told you this before. It's just an observation. Mind you, this goes back a few years. I had a girlfriend that was doing GP, General Primary, at Charles Sturt University. It was Mitchell College back then. And she had a work adjustment or work experience at Wilcannia for 2 weeks. So she's gone from Bathurst to Wilcannia to teach in a primary school. And she had only 3 or 4 white kids in her class. And that was it, 3 or 4 kids. And she said to the headmistress, is this the size of the class? She said, oh, no, there's plenty more, but the rest are Indigenous and they don't turn up. They don't come to school. And there are no truancy laws. You can't do anything about it. They just don't turn up. This friend of mine, I won't name her, I'll tell you off air if you want, but this ex-girlfriend of mine said, okay, this Friday we're going to do a cooking class. And we'll cook anything you want. You name it, and I'll get the ingredients and we'll do cooking. And this little girl said baked beans on toast. And so this friend of mine went out and she bought baked beans and bread. And she said, okay, this Friday, we're going to have baked beans on toast for lunch. Everybody. That Friday, full attendance.
Yeah.
Full attendance for baked beans on toast.
Little things.
And she said that the first thing she noticed was that all the garbage cans in the playground were chained and bolted to a post. And she said to the headmistress, why is that? She said, because these Indigenous kids, their diets are so bad and they live on redskins and lollies and high sugar. They have these temper tantrums and they throw things because their diet is so bad. And now this is going back 1987, Kels, and I remember it was at Wilcannia, so it's a while ago. But that story has stayed with me.
Yeah. Well, look, I just want to read something out, and this is from The Conversation, and this is actually a fact check on that $30.3 billion. The person who said that publicly was Warren Mundine. So they looked into this. So first, $5.7 billion of that amount comes from general government expenditure that has nothing specifically to do with Indigenous Australians. So that's defence, foreign affairs and industry assistance, but is seen to benefit everyone. Second, around 1 in 5 Indigenous Australians live in remote areas where the cost of providing many services is significantly higher. So much of the spending is to achieve the same level of services that others are accustomed to, though arguably it fails to do so in many policy areas. Third, Australia has a highly targeted social security system with support based on family and individual circumstances. The Productivity Commission estimates that 68.5% of the gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous expenditure is because of greater need and because of the younger age profile of the population. Ultimately, the Productivity Commission estimates that only $5.6 billion or 18.6% of the total expenditure is provided through Indigenous specific or targeted services. So that $30 billion figure isn't as straightforward as it seems.
So here's the question then, Kelsey. How much of the $30 billion is actually spent on Indigenous specific programs
5.6.
and problems?
5.6.
And yet there's $30 billion in a budget and only a minuscule fraction is going to where it's really needed. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Because again, if you want social service workers to work in remote areas, you have to house them, you have to travel them, you have to do all that stuff. So the actual cost of providing services just in and of itself is a lot higher because a lot of Indigenous communities live in remote areas where the vast population lives on the coastline. So just the act of putting a social services building in a remote area in itself is going to cost 5 times more than putting it in Sydney.
Leave us a message. Are you a member of an Indigenous remote community? Have you lived in one? Have you taught there? Have you had an experience? And if you want to leave your contact details, we'd love to talk to you so that we can get to talk to people firsthand.
Luke, let's move on to something a bit lighter.
A bit lighter, please, Kelsey.
Luke, I've got a question for you.
Get off your high horse. Whose podcast is this?
Never. How much money is too much money to pay for a soft serve? Look, how much would you pay for a Macca's soft serve cone?
Wouldn't.
Oh, come on. Just play along.
It's pig fat. And by the way, at Macca's, the machines are always broken. The soft serve machine is always broken. They are shit machines. You ask anyone.
But when you get that soft serve,
no, they used to have them for 5 cents. They were 5 cents or 10 cents once, weren't they, for the little ones?
Yeah, I think once upon a time, famously, they used to be 30 cents, right?
Yeah, was that right? Yeah, I used to like Mr. Whippy when I was a kid.
Yeah, Mr. Whippy was the best.
Oh, and you know what? There's a Mr. Whippy that comes down our road, Kelsey.
Yeah.
And they've stopped playing green sleeves. There must be a copyright issue.
Oh,
ding, 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 ding. Green Sleeves was the international Mr. Whippy music. And the bloke who came down the road the other day was playing something else. And me and Nikki said, "Where's Green Sleeves?" Can you do some investigative journalism into why Mr. Whippy doesn't play Green Sleeves anymore? Is it copyright?
I don't know. I'll look into it. But anyway, so...
no, I don't know. How much would you pay for a soft serve at McDonald's? 50 cents.
Well, so they used to be 50 cents on the loose change menu, but people started noticing that without any warning, they switched to 95 cents for a Macca's soft serve. One person said, "The soft serve cone at Macca's is my definitive indicator for how the economy is going." I would say that is a great economic indicator. But then people did a little bit more digging, and what they found was that the price of a soft serve changes depending on where you're ordering it. So at several Sydney locations, so $1.25 at the Wynyard Station, $1.35 at Haberfield, $1.55 at the Thornley store. What's going on here, Maccas? Are they like doing this dynamic pricing thing where like based on the area they like add more money? But like one person said, I've seen them after midnight in Brisbane, so it's meant to be the loose change menu for almost $2. $2 for a soft serve is absolutely ridiculous.
By the way, I've done some massive research.
What?
Greensleeves is the historic tune of Mr. Whippy. And the founder of Mr. Whippy was Dominic Facchino, who founded Mr. Whippy in 1962 because he liked the English folk song. And some of the reasons they don't play Greensleeves anymore, according to AI.
Very good source.
Yeah, great source. Noise pollution laws. Many councils have banned or restricted the playing of loud music in residential areas. Safety concerns over children running on the roads to chase the van.
I've done that before. I have.
God, yeah. Trademarks and operators. The original Mr. Whippy franchise changed hands multiple times, and many current trucks are independent operators and they use other digital tunes. But when I was growing up, you always... Do you know, I had a friend, Amanda, who was a producer at 2GB, Amanda Hughes, and she said when she was a little girl and they'd hear Greensleeves, Mr. Whippy coming, her parents would say, oh, no, darling, when you hear that music, that's Mr. Whippy telling everyone that he's run out of ice cream.
Oh, cruel.
True story. That's what she told me.
Cruel.
It was the
That's
Mr.
so
Whippy
mean.
signal that I've just run out of ice cream.
You know what they really need to do again? Remember when I was younger and they would at 6 p.m. or whatever on every, I think it was ABC or whatever, they would always play that little like time to go to bed now, time to go to bed little thing. And that would be an indicator to all the parents to put the kids to bed.
No, I don't
We
remember
don't have that anymore.
I remember, I think it was the Magic Circle Club. It could have been. It was one of those black and white TV shows. We really must knock that naughty clock that says it's time to go. Yes. Our time has passed. It's gone so fast, and we must end our show. Goodbye. Listener mail. We got a message from Mike. Luke, from the old Triple M days, I used to listen to you on the night shift. Granny Sue from Yorkeys Knob, I believe. Did she have a shop? Did Granny Sue have a shop?
I think she did.
I'm in the Cairns region right now and would love to pop in and support her business. No, she doesn't have a shop. She lives on her own at Yorkeys Knob.
But she listens to this podcast, Mitch. So, Granny Sue, if you're listening, let me know. I'll put you in contact with Mitch. But I got a message from Granny Sue the other day, and I'm so sorry, Granny Sue. I've completely forgot to reply. I'm replying to you right now on this podcast. Granny said, morning, why were these women and kids allowed back into Australia? They knew what they were getting into when they left. No, we have to give them money so they can live back here. What a load of shit. Our wonderful government in full flight and totally pissed off. So Granny Sue, we hear ya. We hear ya.
We have to get Granny Sue back on.
I know.
Soon. But no, I don't think she's retired. She doesn't own a shop. She worked in a pub and she swam nude in the river and got drunk in the river and used to get people drunks by the ears and turf them out of the hotel. She worked on cattle stations, but I don't think she's ever had a shop.
We got to get Granny Sue back on. Next week we'll get Granny Sue back on and she can give us, what would you call it?
A dose of life.
Yeah, a dose of life.
A little dose of Granny better. Sue goes such a long way, but you need a teaspoon of sugar after it's gone down sometimes.
Yeah.
There's a message you want to play. G'day, Luke, long-time listener. I thought I'd share this poem with you. It's on my YouTube channel entitled Gifts Differing Podcast. And the poem is entitled An Ode to the 1940s. Kind regards, Mr. Parrish. What we're going to call him?
I know.
What is he, a school teacher?
I don't know, but it's a cool name.
Mr. Parrish. Let's have a listen.
We'll just listen to a little bit of it and we'll put the link to it in the description.
A little bit.
Nice fire.
An ode to the 1940s. In an age when the clocks ticked with care and the world bore the weight of despair, there arose a design, neither showy nor fine, but a function that dressed itself fair. With a handshake, a nod, or a glance, one upheld the old code of expanse, wherein manners were clear, not from fear but from cheer, and respect was not left up to chance. Their dresses were hemmed for the task, their dignity wore no bright mask. Though fabric ran lean, the appearance was clean. Horn spoke what one ought not to ask. A curtain might wave at the breeze, not frilled, but designed so to please.
There we go.
I think I'd have to read it.
Yeah, send us the words to that. But we love a good old poem, and I honestly don't really know much about the 1940s, if I'm being completely honest with you. So
I know a
I've got
couple of
no
poems.
idea.
There was a young girl from Nantucket who... No, hang on. There's another one. There was a young man called Mike Hunt who... No, I can't do that
No,
one.
stop it.
Kelsey, we got a message from Dean. Is he one of our regulars?
Oh, yeah, we love Dean. So Dean says, and this is in response to a night out, right? He says, "Hey, Luke and Kelsey, heard on the podcast about what we did on the drink. Well, here it goes. I was living in Nullumbai, that's right.
Yeah, in the Northern Territory.
Yeah, Northern Territory. We went fishing on a 4-day trip with a mate. We were at a spot called Crab Creek in Arnhem Bay where we set our crab pots in the morning and counted 48 crocodiles. Well, the tide went out and we were on the drink all day. That's so dangerous. About 11 p.m. that night, we went back to check the crab pots. We were very drunk by this stage. When we came out of Crab Creek, the boat lost power and I fell asleep standing up on the side of the boat. My mate got the boat going and stereo was turned right up, no lights on. He hit the throttle and I went over the side into the water. He did not see or hear me go over the side. When I came up from underwater, I thought in my drunken state, we counted 48 crocs today as I watched the boat power away. Mate finally realized I was gone and managed to backtrack and spotted me 15 minutes later. Oh my God. When he got to me, I was exhausted and I could not get up the ladder. My mate had a spotlight in one hand screaming at me, "Get in the fucking boat." With one hand, he dragged me over the side. He then told me a set of eyes had gone down underwater behind me. As I got up off the floor of the boat, a croc surfaced next to us. One of the most stupid things I've ever done. Did not get that drunk fishing again.
He's lucky to be alive. That's a nightmare.
My God.
That is frightening.
My God. That is insane.
Have we got Dean's contact details? Let's get him on the phone on another podcast and have a chat to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Dean, we want to talk to you. Leave your phone number and we'll get you on the next podcast.
I've got it. We'll set it up.
We'll get Dean on the phone.
Now, Luke, we got another message here. It's from Eleanor. Long-time listener from Radio Times, I would like to have a debate about AI. I am not a singer. I am not a musician. My daughter is both, and I started writing songs for her. Then I discovered AI. Wow. I know a lot of actual singers, including my own daughter, do not like AI, but I feel I am making some exceptional songs in there. But wait, it is not all AI. I write the lyrics and then AI puts it to music. Where is the harm in that? Your thoughts? And Luke, they sent me the link to some songs that they've put online. I thought, let's choose one of the songs and let's just have a little listen so you get an idea. This one is called When Mummy Cries. So we'll have a little listen to this.
Okay.
Long journeys I must endure, but I'll be home soon, of that you can be sure. Well, how many times had she heard those words? So many times that it became absurd. She was just 3 when he walked out that door, saying, "See you soon," and kissed Mom once more. He's not.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, if you like that sort of thing. There is a music program, an AI music program that is taking the world by storm called Suno. Are you across it? Unbelievable. And there are songs on the top 40 in the United States. One in particular, I've forgotten its name now. It's all AI.
Yeah.
Is AI going to take the place of musicians? This is what's got the music world really concerned about.
Well, did you know that Michael Jackson is like back in the top 10 Billboard charts because of the biopic that's out with him at the moment? I think Thriller was at like number 6 or something, 40-something years after it was like first released. So I think what makes music great is like I guess like reminds you of a place, of a feeling, and I feel like only humans can really replicate that type of emotion. However, for bops, that anyone can make, all you need is some good lyrics. Then I think as long as it's very clear that this is an AI song, then I don't really have any problem with it. But then again, I'm not a musician, so I don't have any skin in the game. I just want to listen to fun music. So
yeah, I want to hear real musicians, Kels. Who was that bloke?
You love AI music. We make AI music all the time on this podcast.
But we make it very clear it's AI.
Yeah. I don't think anyone... there have been a couple of shonky people trying to pass their music as not AI, but I think the majority of people do.
Do you know the biggest selling album of all time is Michael Jackson's Thriller?
Not surprising.
Guess what number 2 is? Don't look it up. Don't look at me. Don't look at your computer. Look at me.
Look at me. Yeah.
Second, number 2 is AC/DC's Back in Black. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon comes in there somewhere. I think it's 4. Whitney Houston's in there. But Michael Jackson's Thriller, 1982, biggest selling album of all time, 51.3 billion. But AC/DC, Back in Black, 1980 is number 2. A little bit of trivia for you there, Kels.
Thanks for that. Much appreciated.
Coming up on episode 107 of the Bonafide podcast, thanks to Pestrol, we're going to have a chat about this Hantavirus, the Australians coming to Perth for quarantine. How serious is it?
Oh my God, I just realised surely we can relate Pestrol to the rats.
If you want to do away with... Can we make medical claims on this program?
No, absolutely not.
Say goodbye to Hantavirus now. Use Pestrol, Pestrol, pestrol.com. Money back guarantee.
This is all jokes. All jokes. Disclaimer, all jokes. Anyway, Dr. Norrie
is next.
Stories and laughter that brighten my day. Got the bluesy rhythm, but it's swinging my way. Oh, I got the Luke on a blues. But they're the kind that...
Well, by now we are all well aware that a Hantavirus hit cruise ship has stayed and overstayed its welcome in the Netherlands by now. 4 Australians and 1 permanent resident, so that's 5, and 1 New Zealand citizen arrived in the Netherlands, and they have boarded a charter flight from Spain, expected to arrive in Perth any moment now, where a special facility has been built so that they can quarantine for up to 3 weeks. The 6 passengers were told they could spend up to 48 hours transiting through the Netherlands under strict protocols before they fly back to Perth. It's now likely to exceed that deadline, and we'll keep you posted on all of that. Australia's ambassador to the Netherlands is Dr. Greg French, who was on the ground as the passengers arrived and spoke to them briefly after landing at an RAAF base near Perth. Later this week, they will immediately be transferred to the nearby Bullsbrook Centre for National Resilience. But what a disaster this is, and is it close to COVID? What is Hantavirus? And just what do we know about the incubation period or the quarantine period? And are other Australians at risk? Now, the last thing we want to do is create panic, but this has created worldwide headlines, so I thought we'd go to our resident GP, Australia's most agreed GP, Dr. Philip Norrie, for some medical background on this. Dr. Phil, g'day.
Hi.
First of all, Hantavirus, what is it? Where's it come from? From what I hear, it comes from rats and mice and vermin. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it comes from rodents. So either contact with the rodents, their urine, their feces, or their saliva. And apparently the ship picked it up in Argentina. Now, don't confuse the Hantavirus, TA, with the Hendra virus, DRA. The Hendra virus is the one that goes from flying foxes to horses, then to humans and dogs.
Right.
It is very fatal. So don't confuse the Hendra horse virus with this Hanta rodent virus.
So how contagious is it? I mean, when you look at the footage on the news, everyone's in protective gear being sprayed down. It looks a bit COVID-ish, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it's number one, the virus is rare, and number 2, spreading from rodents to humans is rare, and then spreading from human to human is rare. But please explain why 3 people have already died. So obviously this virus never read the textbook and will do what it wants to do and not what it should be doing. And that's the thing. I always tell people the bug or the disease never read the textbook, like cancer, for example. Cancer never read the textbook. It'll do what it wants to do. And this variation of the Hantavirus from Argentina obviously never read the textbook, and it's going to do what it wants to do. When everybody says 6 to 8 weeks incubation period, that's the problem, because you don't know you've got it. Then 6 or 8 weeks later, you come down with the flu.
You've got passengers and personnel on this ship that are due to fly out from the Netherlands to 20 different countries. What happened with COVID was we didn't shut down our borders quick enough, is one argument, and off it went. Can you ever really, though, because the world is so small now, Dr. Norrie, can you ever actually really control a contagious virus?
Well, the World Health Organization is in charge, technically, and it should be tracing every passenger and every crew member on board that boat and making sure they quarantine for at least 6 weeks. In England, they're making them quarantine for 45 days. Elsewhere, like in America, they're wanting them to quarantine for 42 days. So please explain why our Federal Minister for Health has chosen 21 days.
Yeah,
I think he's had a brain fart.
Well, that's Mark Butler. And he said, quote, yes, it is very rare that Australia is taking a precautionary approach. And they're seeking, Butler said, that adding to the incubation period for the virus, 42 days. He said, quote, I do make no apology for the fact that this is one of the stronger approaches you'd see around the world. Is it strong enough?
No, because he's talking 21 days and not 42 days. So that's what you get when you get a lawyer in charge of the medical health department. When he starts talking 21 days, where's he coming from? Because that's totally out of it and not in conjunction with every other place that's talking 42 to 45 days. So why is Australia so precious and special that we can only isolate it for 21 days? It should be 42 days minimum.
Well, that's what the World Health Organization's recommending, 42 days, but we're going way under that, halving it.
Yes, please explain. And don't forget, this Hantavirus is so rare, I bet you nobody in the health department of Australia has ever seen it before. And they're calling themselves experts in infectious disease and control. I bet you none of them have ever had to deal with a Hantavirus before.
So you as a medical practitioner, you are there in charge of a large medical centre, and your patients must be saying to you every day, what is this, Doc? And am I at risk? Is there some sort of antiviral that I can take? How prepared are we? All those questions must be being fired at you every day now.
Yeah, well, we have the Hantavirus rat test, thank God. I tell them it's very little risk because the people are going to end up in Western Australia, in Perth, in isolation there. And once they've done their time and haven't got any symptoms, they can be let out in the public. But I just wish the time was at least 42 days and not 21 days.
Okay, now let's get back to the WHO, the World Health Authority, monitoring people. I just said that you've got passengers and crew that are going to be distributed to at least 20 different countries. So how closely monitored will all those other passengers be if they try and get a visa to come to Australia for a holiday or something?
Well, you'd have to make sure that they've done at least 42 days. Remember that these people going to all these 20 different countries, that means 20 different plane flights.
Yeah.
And it just becomes more complicated. I just would have had them all stay in Holland for 42 days and paid Holland for looking after them for 42 days and just kept them there. Once you start spreading them to 20 different countries, 20 different plane flights, that's 20 different crews on the planes that are potentially exposed to it. It just gets bigger and bigger. Just keep it tight. It's the old KISS theory. Keep it simple, stupid.
So what official warnings have our medical practitioners been given by Mark Butler and the Department of Health?
Zero.
Really?
Nothing's come through to me.
Nothing. As I say, your patients that you see every day, I bet they're asking about it.
Yeah, But as I tell them, they're all going to be in Western Australia in isolation there. So if any of them develop it later on, we'll contain it in that quarantine station that was built for COVID. As I said, 21 days isn't long enough.
All right. Well, we'll keep a close eye on this, and when the people who are being quarantined arrive in Perth, we'll know more. As I say, there are 4 Australians, 1 permanent citizen and 1 from New Zealand. We'll keep a very close eye on this. And if any more information comes to your knowledge, can you share it with us, please?
Yeah, but as I said, I doubt if anyone in the health department, state or federal level, has ever dealt with Hantavirus before.
We're learning all the time, and that's what viruses do. They keep you on your toes. For those poor 3 individuals on that ship that perished, it's too late for them. And listen, Doc, thank you so much. I know you've got a busy practice to run. Go and save a few lives, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks.
Well, the much-awaited and very heavily previewed 2026-27 Australian federal budget has been handed down, and there's a fair bit to get to. The government's saying it's focusing on cost of living relief, fuel security, and tax reform. It features a $31.5 billion deficit. Now, it's also being described widely as the budget of massive broken promises, where the government said categorically that changes to negative gearing and capital gains tax was off the table. They were not going to touch it. Today, both the Treasurer and the Prime Minister are saying, well, sometimes it's for the greater good, and that these changes, radical changes, had to happen in order to help young Australians get into housing and to free up the housing market. There's a lot to this budget, but we'll start with capital gains and negative gearing changes. Shane Oliver is Chief Economist with AMP, and he joins us regularly here on the Bonafide podcast. He's back again. Busiest man in Australia this morning. G'day. Thanks for joining us.
Good Lord, Luke. Great to be back. Great to be back.
Good Lord, Shane. So we'll go through some of the most important parts of this budget, and we'll get Shane Oliver's point of view. But let's start with the changes to capital gains tax and negative gearing. Here's the question. Are these changes going to realistically help young Australians get into a home?
Maybe, but there's a big if around that. I kind of, just thinking on the budget, you look at it in detail, masses of stuff comes out last night, you spend all night looking at it. And I get up this morning, I feel kind of disappointed. Last year we heard a lot of talk about the need to boost growth in Australia without causing inflation, to boost our living standards. And then the last few weeks we got distracted and we went down this path about negative gearing and the capital gains tax as if they're the biggest problems we need to solve. Even the government's own analysis, if you go to page 158 of the budget papers, there's an analysis in there which says that there'll be 35,000 less homes built over the next decade because of those tax changes. So what you're doing there is increasing the taxes on investors. That has the effect of discouraging investors coming into the property market, which means ultimately there'll be less homes supplied. Now, the government's tried to offset that by saying, well, we're spending $2 billion on critical infrastructure for housing, so don't worry about it. That'll make there'd be more houses. I don't really know, but the problem is I think these policies have been talked about for many, many years, but I don't think they're the real issue. The real issue in Australia is that we've got too many people and we haven't built enough homes. That's the issue. Immigration levels have been high. Don't get me wrong, I love immigration and we've built our country on immigration, but for many years it's been higher than we've been able to house people with. You got to get that balance right. We need more tradies. We need it easier to build homes. It takes 50% longer to build a house than it did 10 years ago. They're the sort of problems that need to be addressed. Negative gearing and capital gains tax are just a fraction of the issue. And to be honest with you, how did I get into housing? Including an early version of this house I'm in right now. I was a rent investor. So initially my girlfriend and I went out. We bought a property. Staying at home with our parents, and we used negative gearing to get the mortgage down. When we got the mortgage down, we then got married, sold that property, decided it wasn't the one for us, and then bought another one that we couldn't really afford, and we rented a much cheaper property, and we literally are an investor to get into the property market. So that's how I got in. Our generation has got the advantage of those things. I mean, not so much the capital gains tax discount, that was more recent, but the negative gearing, we've got the advantage of that to build wealth, as has Gen X and increasingly millennials, believe it or not. Whereas what we're doing now is saying, oh, sorry, young people, we can't afford it anymore. You can't have it. And that's the way it's gone, I think. And I think if you were a young person thinking of, getting into property now as a rent investor, that is where you buy something and rent it out and use negative gearing to get it down, get the mortgage down. Well, you can't do that anymore unless you get a new property, and that does restrict people into buying new properties, and that's a more restricted market. And also later in life, you can't use it to build your wealth. So this, I think, is a bit of an issue, and I think it's a distraction. If we want to improve intergenerational equity, and there are issues there, and the reality is that my generation, my mother's generation, and the one below me, Gen X, from next year, or from about this year, will be a smaller share of the population than millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha. Sorry to go down the marketing spin path, but that's just the reality. So younger voters will matter more and more in all of this. But I don't think this is the way to fix intergenerational equity. If we want to make it easier for younger people, we got to make it easier for home builders to build more homes and not keep talking about it. We actually got to meet those objectives. We got to make 250,000 homes a year, which is the 1.2 million over 5 years under the building accord, the housing accord. We got to get the immigration balance right. Yeah. We've got to, I think, enable the economy. If you want to start up a business today, it's a lot more work than it was when I was young. That's the real issue here. If you want to be entrepreneurial, and those are the sort of things that Australia needs, it is getting harder and harder and harder. There's regulators all over you, along with tax. So we got to fix that up. There's a bit of that in the budget, but I don't think there's enough in the budget on that. And ultimately, we got to fix up the tax system, because I think it is a problem that we get so much of our tax from income tax. Yeah. And as Paul Keating and Bill Kelty, who are on the left of politics, say, they've said this many times, the top marginal tax rate is egregious. When you lose half of your income for earning anything above 190,000, a lot of young people think, well, I'm not going to get that. Well, one day, many of you will. That's egregious, and it acts as a disincentive to work. So I think there's problems in Australia which we need to fix to improve intergenerational equity, so we have the same growth opportunities that you and I had. That's where the focus needs to be. I think negative gearing capital gains tax was a bit of a sideshow. Yeah, and addressing bracket creep, for example. But let's go back to intergenerational inequity. Do you think then that, and I know you don't get involved in politics, you're a figures man, I get that, but do you think that the government is saying, we are going to concentrate on younger Australians and trying to appease them, and the boomers, who are a dying race, tough? Tough. Well, maybe. Trouble is that, the grey vote is still a very significant one out there, and they're often quite engaged in voting. So, maybe that is the strategy. I don't know. I mean, maybe they have looked at the numbers and seen that, our generation, the one above and the one below, a declining share of the population. But it just seems odd that this budget was sort of going down a path earlier this year about addressing the lack of productivity in Australia and make it easier to grow the economy. In other words, expand the pie. And now we're sort of getting lost in another debate about identity, which generation you belong to. That kind of worries me a little bit, because it pits one Australian against another, as if we're not already doing that. This just accelerates that process in an unhealthy way. I think, sure, we got to fix up the housing problem, but I don't really think negative gearing and capital gains tax discount are the causes of the problem. They may be a tiny fraction of it, but they're not the causes of it. Just explain what will happen now to a boomer that owns a family home. What sort of tax now are we going to have to pay after inflation when we sell our homes? Well, the good news is if it's on the there's no tax changes to the family home. It's only on investment properties which are impacted. So if a boomer has an existing investment property, they still get the benefits of negative gearing forever until they sell it and buy a new one, then they won't. The capital gains tax changes will be, this gets really complicated, from July next year, they'll be based on the current system. So if you bought it, let's say 10 years ago, you bought it 10 years ago, and then from July next year, the capital gains tax rules change and you sell it, say, in 5 years' time, then they'll proportionally adjust it. I mean, I guess if you want to get technical, you can get a valuation done tonight or something like that and see how it goes. But 2/3 of the capital gain you get will be taxed on the old rules, the 50% discount, and 1/3 will be taxed under the new rules. So it's a proportional adjustment. The only thing it does affect Australians, potentially older Australians, they might have been thinking, well, I'm not going to realise the capital gain until I retire, in which case I'll have a zero tax rate. Now the government, this has snuck in, the government has imposed a minimum 30% tax rate on any capital gain. So anyone who is using a strategy of thinking, well, I'll wait till I have no income and have no tax, then maybe that won't apply. You'll always be paying a 30% tax on it as a minimum.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you talk about tax reform, because you're quite right. When I was working full-time at 2GB and then TUE and then Triple M, I was working January, February, March, April, May, June before I saw a cent.
Yeah.
And you say you take away incentives for entrepreneurial initiative or incentives to earn. And what does that do? It's happening in Great Britain now. That's why Nigel Farage is so popular at the moment, because the incentive to work is being taken away. Let's move on.
It has.
Yeah, let's move on, because we're getting into politics now, and I don't want to do that. And there's arguments as to whether or not the government had a mandate to make this decision when they denied it and denied it and denied it. And at least it's very similar to what Bill Shorten took into his last election, but at least he went to an election with it.
He was honest.
He went to an election with it. The government enjoys 94 seats at the moment, and you ask yourself, would they be enjoying 94 seats if they'd gone to the previous election saying we're going to get rid of, or we're going to drastically change negative gearing and capital gains tax? Anyway, we'll move on. Tell me about the $250 annual working Australians tax offset for earners. And the reason this interests me, and this won't happen for a couple of years, which incidentally coincides with the next election. But if you're going to
surprise.
If you're going to put an extra $250 into the pockets of most tax-paying Australians, they're going to spend it. Now, we've got a massive problem with inflation, due to reach 5% by May, according to economists like yourself and indeed the Reserve Bank.
Yeah.
So spending, and unbelievable government spending and personal spending, if you've got extra money in your pocket, is going to exacerbate inflation. Surely, Shane Oliver, and please, you know what a dumbass I am, but tell me, if inflation goes up, anyone with an existing mortgage, their repayments will go up. And if you are renting, the person who owns your rental property, their mortgage payments on that investment property are going to go up. So your rent's going to go up. Have I got it wrong?
No, that's right. The pressure with inflation, it all becomes a bit circular. Well, the more inflation we get, then the Reserve Bank has to raise rates. And that does add to some costs in the economy, including for renters, their mortgage payments go up, and the inclination for them is to raise their rent. So
there's your $250 gone, because your rent's going to go up, or your mortgage payments are going to go up.
It's a bit circular. I mean, it does worry me that here we are 2 years out from election. So the government last year has an election. They win a massive majority. Everyone loves them, or lots of people love them anyway. This is normally the time when you take hard decisions, I think, and one of them is to cut back government spending, whereas actually for the next 3 years, they're actually increasing government spending. And of course, there's still more handouts. The problems with the handouts, I think, is that they haven't really worked. We got the energy rebates, and then, of course, energy prices are just as high as ever anyway. So it doesn't solve the problem, the underlying problem regarding inflation. And so there is a risk here that I would have thought the government could have been a bit tougher, made the Reserve Bank's job easier in the short term by not promising to spend extra money, whereas in reality they are spending a little bit of money. The savings in the budget are actually a few years down the track, which makes me wonder whether they'll actually occur, because a few years down the track we'll run into the next election, and then often those savings disappear and they end up spending more again to try and get us to vote for them. So I mean, reading these budget numbers, there's nothing in there that makes the Reserve Bank's job easier in the here and now, which makes me think they're probably still going to have to raise interest rates again to get inflation under control. Whereas a lot of the talk we heard from the Treasurer was about, I thought he was recognising that there is a problem there, that government spending is too high and we need to rein it in to help provide more capacity in the economy. If you're employing lots of people in public service roles, and I'm not denying that they provide a service, they often do provide a service, but the growth there has been humongous in recent years. If you're employing lots of people in those roles, they're taking people away from the private sector, away from builders, away from retailers, away from restaurants, and therefore they have to bid for workers, which pushes up the wage rates and ultimately costs more and puts more inflation in the system. So I thought an obvious outcome of all that would be more efforts to wind back government spending. There has been a bit of that on the NDIS, well and good, but I would have liked to have seen a lot more. If we want to get control of inflation in the short term, you've got to have a slightly smaller government sector to make room for a bigger private sector in the economy.
Yeah. I just want to get back to the important issue of immigration, which you touched on at the beginning of our chat. And I've said this before, but I'll just say it again to you. If I can make the analogy of a 50,000-seat sports stadium, and it's for state of origin, I'm being hypothetical, and it's completely sold out for this much sought after, in demand sports event. Surely then you stop selling tickets. You've got to stop selling tickets if your stadium's sold out. Now, if we're looking at 200,000 a year immigrants, and Australians aren't breeding because of the cost of living, you've got to create a tax base down the track from somewhere. But we also have a massive problem with tradies. There aren't enough. And every single one, every single tradie I've spoken to has said, I can't find an apprentice. That young kids don't want to become apprentices. They're being pushed towards university degrees. And then you've also got state and local government red tape to get through to get a DA approved. So these changes don't happen on new properties. So the government, I'm trying to be fair, the government is trying to encourage building, and the negative gearing capital gains tax changes don't apply to new structures. But how do you build a new structure if you can't find building materials and you can't find tradies to build the houses?
That's a problem. You sort of wonder, well, how is this going to solve anything? I mean, they set an objective 2 years ago to build 1.2 million homes over 5 years, which is what we need, 240,000 homes a year. So in a regular year, we need about 180, but we need to build more than that because we've had such high levels of immigration. So unfortunately, we're running way below that. We're managing about 60, 70,000 less home builds a year than we really need, than we actually agreed to under the Housing Accord because of all those sorts of reasons. There's not enough builders out there. There's too much regulation. Build material costs have gone up. It just goes on and on and on. And you can throw more money at it, but it won't necessarily solve the problem. You've got to get more tradies. I mean, if you look at the makeup of most immigrants to Australia, see, some people say, well, we need more immigrants because then that will help the housing industry supply more homes. But most immigrants don't actually go into the home building industry. They don't have those skills. So that's one thing you could.
They used to.
Yeah, they used to. If you watch They're a Weird Mob, 1966.
I know. Nina John O'Grady wrote the book about the fictitious Italian immigrant by the name of Nino Coletta, who came out here, wanted to work in newspapers, but ended up in the building industry.
In the building industry, out in suburban Australia, suburban Australia. I mean, there's a bit of that still happens, but not a lot of it. Most immigrants don't go into home building, and so therefore it actually just adds to demand without helping supply the number of homes. So you've got a problem on that front as well. But I totally get your point. There's not enough tradies out there, and it's very hard struggle to get apprentices unless we can solve those sorts of problems. And every budget, they say, we've got another 100 million here or 2 billion there and blah, 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 blah. I mean, it doesn't seem to fix the problem up. And so you're right. If your stadium is full, then you've got to limit new entrants until you can expand. Yeah, stop selling tickets until you can expand the size of the stadium. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a craft.
Shane Oliver, chief economist with AMP. Shane, you've got every radio station and television station chasing you today, so I really appreciate this. But we haven't got time to go through every point of the budget, but I got your very detailed email, and it's a lot of reading. But if people want to find out more, it's easily done through you online. But let me just ask you about something else that's very close to everybody's mind and wallet at the moment, and that is energy security. How does this budget address Australia's energy security? the $7.5 billion fuel and fertiliser security facility. You've got a $3.2 billion Australian fuel security reserve, but the government has also said we're not going to build any more refineries and we're still going to import our oil. So tell me, how does this address it?
Well, I think that the aim with that money is to build up our daily reserve to 50 days or more. So, coming into this, it was 30 to 35 days. They want to build that up to 50 days, which is fair enough, but it's still below what the International Energy Agency says we should have, which is meant to be 90 days. And of course, there's always this problem that is, if there is a global issue that goes for more than 90 days, and don't forget the event in the Middle East has gone on for getting close to that now, then, you've still got a problem even if you've got 90 days. So ideally, I think we should be looking at more exploration. This is a short-term thing. Over time, it's probably the case we'll end up with more electric vehicles and electric trucks and so on, and so our dependence will diminish. But that's a long-term story. That's a long, slow process. In the near term, I think we should be putting more effort into exploration and getting out our own oil. And then the other option is, look at expanding existing refineries. Building refineries from scratch can be quite costly, but I think the key is to have the oil in the first instance. If you've got that, then you've got a lot of bargaining power with other countries that do have the refineries. But if we could make it easier to get more oil out of the ground or out of the sea, wherever it's coming from, that I think would be part of the solution. So, there's a bit in the budget there, but I don't think it goes far enough. My understanding is that we quite easily access 200 to 300 million barrels of oil in or around Australia, but we stopped exploring for it. So that's the reason why it's run down. Currently, we only supply something like 10 to 20% of our own crude oil, and then a lot of that has to go overseas to get processed and then come back to Australia.
Yeah, I think it was Winston Churchill who said, if you try and tax yourself out of a recession, it's like standing in a bucket and trying to pull the bucket over your head. Which is a great analogy, isn't it? Tell me, Shane Oliver at a glance, is it a fair budget? Is it going to be in 2 years an election-winning budget?
Look, I think there's some good stuff in it, but I'd probably, if I'm waking up in the morning, now normally you get up in the morning, you feel happier about things, but I don't actually feel that much happier about the budget. I'd probably only give it a rating of 6 out of 10. I think it could go a lot further. I don't see it as a political document, apart from the intergenerational stuff. The other stuff is, there's some good reforms in there, deregulation and so on, but I just think that they should have gone a lot further. Paul Keating would have said many years ago, we sounded like baby boomers here when we talk about Paul Keating, but he would have said, well, we've got 2 years to go before the next election. Let's do some real reforms. Howard and Costello would have done the same thing. And that's what I liked about those governments, run by Hawke and Howard, that they actually got stuff done. And when you're in between elections, now's the time to do it, to take the hard decisions. Whereas, unfortunately, they've gone down this path of appearing to appeal to younger people. But I think that's more about what they call the optics. It's more about the optics rather than the fundamentals. It looks like you're doing something. This is to be cynical about it. A few years ago, the government was all focused on boosting supply. They said, we're not going to do negative gearing capital gains tax. And Australians didn't want that. Real issue is boosting supply. And now we've spent 2 or 3 years trying to boost supply, and maybe it hasn't worked. And they're thinking, let's wheel something else out. We'll just wheel this one out because it'll be popular. That's what the cynic in me suggests might have happened here. But unfortunately, it's derailed the budget a little bit, this focus on negative gearing capital gains tax, because it's not the real issue. It's not the main problem in Australia.
Should the government ban anyone who isn't an Australian citizen from owning Australian property? There are plenty of countries that have that policy in place, or at least you've got to have a 50% partner. Would that free up supply?
Well, it could, but it's at the margin. They're not the main reason why we've got a housing problem in Australia. We did have a de facto ban through the pandemic. Foreigners coming here and buying property, and yet property prices still ended up rising. And out of interest, I did read somewhere in the budget papers that the ban on foreign purchases of existing homes is to be extended. So foreigners can buy new homes, but they can't buy existing homes. So there are restrictions in place on what foreigners can buy anyway.
So foreigners can invest in a new home and still enjoy the benefits of negative gearing.
Yeah, but I don't know how negative gearing would work in their tax system. So they're a foreigner paying tax in another country. I don't know how that would work.
Well, maybe you're someone from overseas that finances your kids who are studying here at university.
Yeah. It could well be or maybe they're in Australia paying tax here.
That's
but
right.
They're actually foreigners, yeah, so they'd get the benefit of it and the capital gains tax discount.
That's what I meant. That's what I know, yeah. All right.
In fact, for a new build, you've got the choice of which model you want to use for capital gains tax. You can use the current 50% discount, or you can switch to the real taxation of real gains. So new builds have a choice, and they still get negative gearing.
Well, time will tell. In 2 years, we'll have a look at the polls and see what happens then. There's a lot more to this. Go onto the AMP website, have a look at what Shane Oliver has to say, because there's a lot more to it. But these are the issues, I think, that are on people's minds today. Shane Oliver, you've got television and radio waiting for you. Thank you for putting me at the top of the list. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's been fun. Good Lord.
Good Lord. Everybody wants that peace of mind. I'll be honest with you. We had been trying to eradicate pests for a long time. And then Kelsey keeps turning up.
Hey!
In all seriousness, if you want real peace of mind, talk to my mate Andrew from Pestrol. I've known Andrew for over 20 years, and his team know exactly how to deal with this stuff. The best part? It's all DIY. You don't have to call someone out straight away. Start simple. Grab a Pestrol rodent-free max. You just plug it into the wall. There are no poisons, no traps. It just goes straight to work and drives the pests away. They've got over 5,000 products. So if it's crawling, flying or chewing in the house, in your shed, in your garage, out at the farm, they have got a product for it. Jump online to pestrol.com.au. And this is important. Use the code BONA, B-O-N-A. Use that code and you get free delivery. Don't forget it, B-O-N-A at checkout. It lets them know you came from the Bonafide podcast, and it really helps support what we do here. Helps keep this little pest Kelsey around too.
Hey, yeah.
She needs a roof over her head without any pests in it.
Back to the script.
Head to pestrol.com.au. Do it now. Problem solved.
Welcome to a show called The Man Cave. Man Cave. With Boner on the mic, it's a good day. Good day. Adam McDonald and Kelsey too. Thomas behind the scenes, producing all the goods. Have a good time on a Friday.
Well, hello and welcome to Man Cave episode 105.
Wrong.
Good to be
Wrong.
It says here 105.
I know, I always forget to change that, but it's 100.
Yeah, you've got one job to do, Kelsey.
Oh, get fucked.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there goes our YouTube, Spotify G rating. Thanks,
That's
Kelsey.
the perfect start.
Yeah, perfect start to a perfect day. Episode 107. The Man Cave with the Vice Captain Adam McDonald from Evans Hastings Valuers, the expert on memorabilia and ephemera. A round of applause, Adam.
Good morning,
Adam. Unders and overs, McDonald.
That's right. I took some unders the last time I was out on the pick, but anyway, I'll be back.
We can talk about that. And our good mate Larry Canning, golf expert. He is a regular contributor to Australia's most widely read golf newspaper. What's it called?
Inside Golf, Luke.
Yeah, I knew that. Inside Golf. It's available at every Golf Pro shop, and it's free. And Larry you've been with them for 20 years now.
I've been with them for 22 years, Luke.
22 years
Yep.
at Larry Canning. And obviously he's got his Callaway cap on, so thank you to Callaway. And thank you very, very much to Pestrol sponsoring this episode. If you've got a pest, they get rid of it. Pestrol.com, an Australian-owned company. And my good mate Andrew Fennell, who I've known since 2021, I think. No, 2001. 2001.
I was gonna say, that's not right.
Yeah, 2001. But anyway, welcome aboard. And the Millennials is here. She's dressed up like a character from Star Wars. She looks like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Gone very... No, but with the headphones, Princess Leia. You look like Princess Leia with those headphones on. That's who you look
Better than
like.
a bloody Ewok.
That's much better.
You're a cross between Princess... If Princess Leia and an Ewok had a child, that'd be you.
I'll take it.
You sure?
Yeah.
Have a look at that. Princess Leia, but not the Ewok. Throw the Ewok away.
Well, she's got
I haven't watched much Star Wars
Harrison
before,
Ford.
but I like... The Ewoks are cute, though. They're like a little...
Yeah, that's where my whole theory falls over. G'day and welcome, everybody. A lot to talk about today. First of all, you, Vice Captain, Evans Hastings. Just show us that photo you've got there. It's a piece of ephemera. Larry, do you know what ephemera is?
No.
Okay,
Paper.
it sounds like a feminine hygiene product you get over the counter at the chemist. It's not. I'll have a jar of ephemera, please. There you are. This should clear it up. No, ephemera. Explain, Adam.
Ephemera is any sort of paper product. Photos, wills, deeds. Yeah, paper products. And just comics, books. And just while we're on that, I had a vendor come in at the start of the week who has a handwritten will from 1479. Just sit back and think about that. 1479. So she showed me photos of it. She's going to bring it in for me today to have a closer look at. But 1479, so she's got a will, a handwritten will, and a land indenture, literally from 1479. Yeah.
Wow. What's it worth?
I've got no idea. I've got no idea. I'd have to have a look at it.
Well, you're the
I'd have to
expert.
have a look at it, do a bit of research. My guess would be $3,000 or $4,000.
Did they even have wills back then?
Oh, of course they would have.
What was happening in the 1400s?
I don't know, a bit of rape and pillage, I suspect.
Yeah, lots of disease.
Lots of disease.
Lots of it's a will. It's a will from a fully grown man at the age of 17.
Yeah, a few plagues here and there. So anyway, back to this photo that I found. Now, this photo I found in a box of other photos. Now, I'd say this is from around 1984, and it's literally a German Shepherd with a koala bear riding on its back, and they both look super chill. Like they both look like they want to be
look
there.
so happy
They do,
about
like
it.
best buddies.
What is the
This is why I
background?
love this. Is why I love this job. I got no idea. It was just in amongst a whole bunch of family photos that were obviously at a koala park somewhere.
Wow.
And they took Bessie, the German Shepherd, down with them, and
No, I'd say the dog's name is Eucalypt.
could be. They've both got chlamydia now anyway, so...
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Ah, dear, oh dear. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
Oh, there's a few things I wanted to talk about, but while we've got Larry Canning here, thanks to Callaway, there's a lot of noise in the sporting world at the moment, and this will interest you, Vice Captain. Adam, you remember back in 1997 when Super League split the rugby league world here in Australia. And it's to this day still kind of hasn't recovered. I mean, the players now have a lot more money. Maybe they're getting paid what they're worth. Some would argue that, especially if you're a Bankstown supporter, they're getting paid a lot more than they're worth. But it was all done in the name of broadcast rights.
Yeah.
And players were then, because of Rupert Murdoch versus Kerry Packer, were able to ask for a lot more money. They were offered an absolute fortune. And we still see the results with amalgamations still intact. Some lasted, some didn't. But it completely split the rugby league world. Now, golf and LIV Golf. Now, Larry, you were with me on Triple M when this first started, and we saw the LIV Golf tournament sponsored by the very rich Saudi Arabians and the UAE, giving golfers an absolute fortune to play in this breakaway tournament or breakaway, tournament.
League.
A league from the traditional PGA, and it caused enormous grief. A lot of players got a lot of money, and at the time I remember thinking, and Adam, just you jump in here, I remember thinking this money can't last. If this doesn't make a profit for its very, very rich trillionaire backers, even they will grow bored with it and it will stop. And it looks like that's what's happening. Now, Larry, it also broke a lot of friendships and relationships in the golfing world. There were the LIV golfers and the PGA golfers, and traditional PGA is saying now that LIV's over, the LIV golfers should not be allowed back in the PGA. The public says, let them back. We want to see the best golfers play against the best golfers. Larry, where is the story with LIV Golf? Because there's one other thing I'll jump in here with, and that is along with the split and the enormous money that wasn't sustainable, there was also, and it's a phrase that you will hear, and it's called sports washing. And that is because LIV Golf was backed financially by the United Arab Emirates, their human rights are absolutely appalling. And people were up in arms saying sports washing, they're going to now sponsor these massive tournaments in all sports, whether it be football, whether it be soccer, whether it be golf, whatever, so that the focus is taken away from their dreadful human rights policies and focus on sport. How am I going?
That's the contra, the counter side to LIV. There is a pro side of LIV and what it's done for the world of golf, and that is bring the game away from the US PGA Tour to the rest of the world. The US PGA Tour have pretty much bought the game. They own it. And they have 3 majors. 3 of the 4 majors are in America. They claim their Players' Championship, which is PGA Tour created, is the 5th, unofficial 5th major. And we in the rest of the world are wondering how much more of the game can you own before we fight back. That's the pro side of LIV Golf. And Australia was a massive benefactor of that. Luke, South Africa or another country where the PGA Tour had kind of forgotten about. If it doesn't work for their business plan, and their tour is a for-profit industry, and it is an industry, everything is funneled, everything they want to buy and own, they funnel that back to the PGA, to America, and that's where they believe the game is based. And the rest of the world are wondering, hoping that the DP World Tour, which is the European tour, that's the second biggest tour, how they can resist this American takeover of the game. 2 or 3 years ago, the PGA, the US PGA Tour, they just call it the PGA Tour. They don't even put US on the front. That's how they feel about the game. They don't need to, because it is the PGA Tour. My God, there's 30 others. Bought 40% stake in the DP World Tour. So they now, which is the European Tour, so they now funnel the Europeans' 10 best players every year to America. They invite them to America. They bring them over. So the European Tour is now not collapsing, but it's being devalued by the American Tour. If that makes any sense, if I'm not too complicated yet, LIV Golf bought US Tour players, the best players in the world, from Europe and US, to Australia, and it was the greatest golfing thing I'd ever seen in my life.
South Australia,
in Adelaide.
Yeah.
Peter Malinauskas, the Premier of South Australia, took a punt because at that time, 3 or 4 years ago, LIV Golf was a bit on the nose by some of the more established players. The people that took the side of the PGA Tour were very critical of the source of the money, and that's fair enough. But what it was doing for the world of golf was fantastic. It was brilliant.
Well, could you equate it? Sorry, Adam, you go, but can I just say this, Adam, before you jump in? I can see you're champing at the bit. Was it a bit like the very staid old cricket establishment, horrified by Kerry Packer and World Series cricket? But what Kerry Packer did was ultimately brilliant for the game. Sorry, Adam,
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's just the old firm not wanting to change, and exactly like the one-day cricket and the yellow uniforms, the pink uniforms, and it just totally turned the game upside down, but made it so much more exciting and open to just
100%.
to keep going. Because if it was still the Whites 5-day game, cricket would be over. No one would be watching it. Yeah. And now you've got, you watch those 2020 games, they are unbelievable.
We were hoping, Adam, that the Test cricket would be the PGA Tour. They would remain, 4 days of golf, pro-am, the format all the same. And the 1 days and the T20s would be LIV. And that's what so that both could work together. But, it hasn't worked. Look, the war on Iran.
The money had to run out because it wasn't making money.
No, but it didn't. We all thought it didn't matter to Saudi Arabia because they have so much. The Iran war has broken that framework, has broken that model.
And COVID also helped.
COVID did, yeah. But the Iran war, I read a figure where it was something like $10 billion in the first 10 days of that war. Saudi Arabia lost. Now it's been, a couple of months? So you can imagine how much money that's cost them. And now that bottomless pit now has a bottom because of that, I believe. So it wasn't just the model. It wasn't just the fact that they weren't making money. They weren't benefiting financially from. As you said, the sports washing was part of the benefits they had, which is a dark area. But it wasn't. It's the Iran war. Had it not been for that, they still would be, as far as I know, backing the LIV Tour.
But where does the money? How do people? Obviously, the players. I did a little bit of golf, not research. I just did a little bit of flick through the golfing magazines and whatnot, and I cannot believe the amount of money that is up for grabs if you win one of these tournaments. I think I saw one that was $28 million or something.
How much?
But where does $28 million?
Wow.
They play for, yeah.
Some dude, Lucas Herbert?
Yep.
He just won $5.5 million. And I was like, Are you kidding me? And I found it funny because it was like a 24 par. I don't know what that means, but essentially he hit the ball like 24 times less than what like he should have. And I was like, that's crazy.
24 under. 24 under.
Yeah?
So
What does par mean?
Okay, well, par. If you went to Kangaroo Valley. Okay, you get your voice down. Golfers really hate it when you talk. Now, that's why during golf commentary, they talk like this. Nicky's just teed off. This is Charles Tarby, our host. He's straight down the fairway. No, it's a lovely shot, Charles. Well done. The gallery's very impressed. Kelsey, you were too busy drinking and filming to understand the game that you were filming. So if you're on a par 3, you're supposed to get it in 3 shots. Okay? If you get it in 2, what's that?
One under.
One under.
So that's why they
he's
say
gone
on
around.
par.
Now, live doesn't mean live. It actually means 54. It's Roman numerals, and they play 54 holes. Sorry, Larry.
They've changed that, Luke. This year, 72 holes.
Okay, but live did stand for the Roman numerals 54.
Yeah. And when they changed to 72...
72 holes. 72, like, so 72 times...
Well, 18 holes. 18 holes times 4 days.
Oh, my God. I was like, that's got to be one gigantic golf course if you've got 72.
No, it's
different things.
No, it's not. It's oh Jesus Christ!
But where does the money come from? Like the people that back these golf tournaments, how would they ever think they're going to make money off it if the prize pool is so much?
The US PGA Tour they pay. I mean, and the sponsors pay, the TV rights, the amount of advertising they can sell. It's a really nice, clean game, easily sold to big corporations. There's no nasty side to it. LIV Golf. Clearly, the source of the money was a bit daggy, but
oil.
Yeah.
But if you look at, and Larry, you're the expert, but in my opinion, as a punter, the most prestigious golf tournament in the world has got to be the US Masters, and they are so old-fashioned. They hate sponsorship. The rules are incredibly strict. The tradition goes way, way back, and it seems to me as though the most prestigious, or at least one of the most prestigious golf tournaments, the US Masters, doesn't give a shit about money.
Yeah, they make enough just from the Masters. I mean, because it's the same golf course every year. They own that. They own a major. A golf club owns a major, which is kind of bizarre. I don't know how it happened. And they invite people to play in it. There's only 90 players in that. 25 of them are my age, like one in 1978 or something. The Masters, I don't believe. It's a big one. I don't understand why it's a major. And look, they have to restructure it. In my opinion, they've got to change it so that 156, which is the other 3 events, all get to play. The world's best players have to play a major. You shouldn't be invited. That's crazy. And the prestige of that event, Luke, is doing no good for the game of golf worldwide. It's making the game appear to be incredibly elitist. There's a lot of things about the Masters that aren't great for the game of golf.
Okay, but Kelsey, just to give you some context here, the US Masters, you get that very famous elusive green jacket. Well, guess what? You don't get to keep it. It's got to stay in your locker at the clubhouse. You get a trophy, which is a scaled-down version of the clubhouse. It's very prestigious, but that green jacket, I think Gary Player took it back to South Africa, was asked by the board to return it, and he said, will you come here to South Africa and get it? Seriously. But you're not even allowed to take your green jacket home, Kelsey. This is how old-fashioned this prestigious golf tournament is. So let's get back to this LIV Golf and sports washing. And I'll give you, Adam, an example of sports washing. I'll give you another example of sports washing. The LGBTQIA community were up in arms when Margaret Court, and it's Margaret Court Arena that they play the women's on. It's named after Margaret Court, and because of her very strict, some would argue, old-fashioned Christian beliefs, she does not believe in homosexuality. And the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and queer communities were up in arms about it because they didn't believe in this day and age Margaret Court should have been honoured the way she is, and especially having a stadium or a court named after her. And yet no one seems to mind the Emirates Melbourne Cup. No one which is right, same thing. No one seems to care about other stadiums being owned and named by UAE companies. But they were up in arms over Margaret Court.
They have a Formula One. They have a Formula One race in Saudi Arabia. That same public investment fund from Saudi Arabia own, is it Newcastle United soccer team?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are so many deals done between America and Saudi Arabia.
Okay, but what about Etihad Stadium? Not a word.
Yeah.
Not a word about Etihad Stadium or the Emirates Melbourne Cup, but everyone was up in arms over Margaret Court.
Yeah.
Because Margaret Court is an individual. Like, there is a difference between, like, an individual who is actively outspoken about vilifying the LGBTQI plus community and, like, a country. Like, there is a difference.
It's still an example of sports washing, some would argue. Adam?
Yeah, I think it's totally sports washing. But like Kelsey said, it's because it's one person. It's more of a targeted. It can be more of a targeted attack or target. It's not an attack. It's just it's what they're saying is correct. But yeah, because you can't target the whole country. I mean, but look at money's a funny thing. Money changes people, right? Money changes people. So the money behind the Newcastle United and the Melbourne Cup, like that is huge dollars. So, people do put a bit of a blind eye, put the blinkers on and say, let's keep running anyway.
That will change. A lot of research in recent years has shown that Gen Z and the younger generations, they do care about being, like, inclusive, right? Like, they care about those things. So it's actually bad for business ignoring these types of things.
Larry Canning, was LIV Golf I think it's over, but was LIV Golf good for the game?
Yes, good for the world game. Not good for America, although American players did benefit because all their purses went up dramatically. And we'll notice that if LIV does fall over, those purses in America will come down. I mean, I'm not sure they can even sustain the battle they took on, the war they had with LIV to try and make their players earn the same amount of money. So we'll see that come down as well. It was good for them indirectly because of that. But it like I said, South Africa, Australia, Korea, countries where the PGA Tour didn't even know existed, are seeing the world's best golfers. I will never forget the day I was on SEN radio. I was talking to Matt White, and I was on the practice fairway at LIV Golf for the first time I went to Adelaide, and I just looked up the practice tee from edge to edge, and there was the greatest players, some of the greatest players that the world's ever seen, right in front of me, all practicing at the same time because they all lit off at the same time. It was like given $1,000 credit and walking into Bunnings. It was magnificent. A lolly shop for me. It was gold. And I was trying to explain to Matt White how excited a 60-year-old man can be about looking at people playing golf. But there it was, and I'll never forget that. And LIV gave me that opportunity and the other 100,000 people that were there. And the kids that came, more kids at that tournament than I've ever seen at another golf tournament. They were for free. Coming in for free. Their parents were,
but they'll buy food and merch. But they'll all buy food and merchandise.
Absolutely. Yeah. There was a mechanism to regain some of the money, but it was just the demographic, the socio-economic demographic was beautifully wide open, Lukey. There was people from everywhere there. And I just thought this LIV Golf is a fantastic thing for countries that aren't part of the PGA Tour. It's a brilliant thing. I believe they will find a way to sustain it. They won't be playing for the millions that Kelsey's talking about there. I mean, Lucas Herbert winning $5.5 million in a week that's a bit excessive. I mean, given that he was probably paid $20 million just to join the tour.
How do you take a pay cut though? Like, how do they say, well, now we're not going to pay you? Like, this whole industry, it's like a balloon. You can blow it up so much until it pops, and then it's over for everyone. And the other thing that I think, and it especially happened in the split with the NRL and the Super League, and you can notice it still. What's happening now is they're playing. We're expanding. The NRL's expanding into Perth, up into PNG. There's not enough good players to maintain the quality of game that they built. You look at the competition now, St George and Illawarra, they're shit, and they're still expanding more. There's not enough quality players to maintain the quality of game that they were playing. And what you'll get a real divide. You'll have the top 8, same top 8 every year, and the bottom top 8 and the bottom 8 same every year because there's not enough players.
Could you compare it to the IPL? the Indian Premier League cricket.
Yeah, that's
because you look at you look at them at the enormous amounts of money, and that's a lottery. It's like a what do they call it? A
draft.
It's a draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they get the top players, and each team bids on them. But we are talking millions of dollars to play 6 weeks of cricket or whatever it is. That is where does that money come from?
Yeah, yep.
Television,
yeah.
Free to wear or pay TV or both. Radio.
I just looked this up. So LIV Golf has paid out over $3 billion in combined prize money, bonuses and guaranteed signing fees since 2022. So the top players, John Ram, he leads all earners. Just from the LIV Golf thing, he's earned over $92 million.
That's crazy. It is crazy.
That is why would you ever work again?
Well, you wouldn't.
I would win one golf competition and you would never see me. I would be gone. I'd be in the Bahamas.
Because if you stop, it's going to cost you $90 million if you stop. You know, you know what I mean? Like potentially you could make that again. Sports. I mean, the baseball and the football, the basketball. Man, that's yearly, isn't it? Even the English Premiership, the English Premier League is they're playing for that sort of money. So it's not like. I'm not justifying it. I think it's ludicrous, but it's there. It's in other sports, and usually international sports that are played everywhere.
You've got to remember, though, maybe golf's a bit different, but all these other sports, your career is 10 years tops. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, so golf you can play on a bit because it's not a contact sport or it doesn't come down to physical fitness. Well, it does, but you know what I mean? Like you're not having to run around for an hour and a half in a game. So these players, their career is short. Like generally, you're probably looking at 8 years at the top of your game, and then it's over. So you've got to earn while you can.
It's funny you should say that, Adam, because you look at the top basketballers earning $48 million. Right. But I think your average NBA player is on 4 or 5 because there's a lot in there. But a lot of them on 10 or 20 million's considered pretty good now a season. And yet nearly 90% of those top earning NBA players are broke within 3 years after retiring because they weren't aware of how to deal with money. A lot of them came from very, very poor backgrounds and had a huge family entourage, people hanging on expecting a bit of their money and misspending their money. And you're right, I don't know what the average length is of a career of an NBA basketballer, but it's certainly not as long as a golfer.
No. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Was LIV Golf good for, say, Cameron Smith and Adam Scott?
Well, Adam didn't go to it. Cameron Smith, no, I don't believe it was great for Cameron. I don't. His last 6 major, they can still play majors. The world's best at LIV, who have won majors, get a 5-year exemption in all majors. And if in the major you win, you get a lifetime exemption. And so that's why you'll see a lot of the LIV players playing major events. Now, Cameron Smith, when he first went to LIV, he was playing quite well in the majors, but his last 6 majors, he's missed the cut in all of them. There's a lot of talk about, why, what's going on? It's his golf swing. He's had to punt his coach just recently, which was really tough for him to do. But he had to do it. I mean, and he's a great guy, Grant. But he's a friend. He's not a friend of Cameron's anymore. But that was really sad. But he had to do something because his game is just spiralling downhill. All coaches will tell you, whether it be golf or any sport, you're either about to be sacked or just been sacked. And that's the world you live in. So he's had to make that decision. So no, it hasn't helped him. His game is definitely spiraled downhill since joining LIV. Hopefully this change will help him.
That's crazy.
And if it falls over, he'll have to try and get back on a tour somewhere.
It's not the coach. It's not the coaches. It's not, especially in a sport like golf. You're one person, right? So it's on you to hit the ball. That coach got him to
hit the ball straight.
Yeah, that coach got him to where he was. Hasn't changed. The processes hasn't changed. Why is it the coach's fault? That's just looking for an out. I can understand if it's a team game because you've got to say, all right, I want you to do it this way, I want you to do it that way.
How important is a coach to a golfer? Because a trainer and a coach to a boxer is massively important.
Yeah. In individual sport, it's huge. Adam, I see your point. It's a bit simplistic. I see what you're saying. Something he has to change, something dramatically, otherwise he will never win a major again. He'll never feature. He has to change something. What does he change? His clubs? Well, Are they the fault? No, why change your clubs when you're the same clubs you used to win the British Open?
I've got to tell you something, Larry and Vice Captain. So we go down to Charles's Kangaroo Valley Golf Resort with Kelsey and Nathan. And Nathan and Nathan's dad, Steve, had a hit with Nikki and Charles. And you know what Kelsey said? She said, how much is a packet of golf clubs?
I feel like that's a reasonable question. Well, what is it, though? What would you call it?
How much is a packet of golf clubs?
It's a set, Kels. Don't let them do this to you. Don't rise above them.
I know, but actually, how much is a set of golf clubs then, on average?
It can be 5,000 and it can be 500. You can get them in a packet. You can get them in a box. In your defence,
See?
Kels.
Ha ha. Thank you, Larry.
Love you, Kels.
Thank you. I gotta say, I played golf for the first time in Well, I didn't play. I was driving the buggy.
Driving the buggy.
Drink responsibly.
It's a cart.
Responsibly.
It's a cart.
It's a cart, yeah.
It's the same thing.
It's a cart full of packets of clubs.
It's funner saying buggy. But it was a lot funner than I thought it would. But I would never go golfing unless I had a cart. Screw walking around that massive track. It was so boring.
Kangaroo Valley is a beautiful track.
Pause. It is. But like
designed by
driving those buggies are like they are dangerous. Those things like they've got so much like
a lot of dog legs to the right, Luke, and then with Jack just
a lot of dog legs to the right. But Kelsey enjoyed the buggy with the pack of the clubs. But can I just say this? You would have thought after all these years of driving buggies, Tiger Woods would be a better driver. What the hell?
Have you seen some of that AI stuff?
What the hell? I bet you this was Adam's next question. But how did the best golfer in the world, next to Jack Nicklaus, with majors?
Yep.
What happened to Tiger Woods? What happened?
He broke. Things just broke off him. He busted. He couldn't sustain that golf swing. The modern golf swing can't be sustained as long as he was trying to do it for. He had operations on every part of him. He's got new ears, I think. He's got everything is brand new. I mean, he is.
But his personal life fell over with his game. What came first?
Yeah, well, like we've said, Luke, a few times, he was raised as a project, not a person. His father was a psycho. And he created the world's greatest golfer, of course, but forgot all the other bits that make a person. And Tiger was no.
Well, tell us what happened. Tell us about his father.
Oh, he was an ex red beret or green beret, whatever the American equivalent is of that in Vietnam. He called his son Tiger. His name is Eldrick, and he's nicknamed him Tiger after a mate that he saw die called Tiger, one of his comrades. So he just created the greatest golfer with no thought of the person that was being overlooked. You know, it was like, you know, whatever it takes to make this guy the greatest golfer the world has ever seen.
Exactly, Adam. Michael Jackson's father, he was a monster.
Precisely.
Yeah, product, pushing the product. Yes. But what about the Williams sisters' father? And they made a movie about it.
Yeah, they did.
Same with what was the Australian tennis player Dokic?
Oh yes,
Jelena Dokic. Yeah, her father.
Her father was a lunatic.
And Bernard Tomic's father.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just found this clip on Instagram, and the title is AI just recreated Tiger Woods arriving at the
this is gold.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
You know when Tiger's going to be here?
It's Tiger arriving at Augusta.
Mean. People are so mean. But I remember when the Tiger Woods scandal broke, like when he cheated on his wife or something, and it was a different time back then when celebrities cheating was like the biggest news ever. Now it's like there's a new headline out every second day about a celebrity cheating.
I think that's because golf had a pretty clean reputation. You know, it's an old game. It's played by gentlemen. I think that's.
Yeah, what about John Daly?
Yeah, well, that's.
You're kidding.
Who's that?
No, he's a grubby. Oh, yeah.
When we had dinner with Charles down at the golf club on the
he got to know John Daly.
He got his Century 21 sponsored the was it the Australian Open?
Yes, it was at the Lakes. Yeah,
and he had to pay Long John Daly an amount of cash in a brown bag. Do you remember that story, Kelsey? He told at dinner?
This guy looks like Santa Claus.
As far morally from Santa Claus as you can physically, morally get.
Well, in order to get John Daly to do a pose in front of the Century 21 sign and do a quick interview, he had to give him some cash in a brown paper bag.
He did give it back to the Sydney community, though, Luke, didn't he? He went straight to the casino, bang.
He went straight to the casino.
Yeah.
And he lost it in, I think he lost it in 12 or 15 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, he would have. Yeah, yep.
If I had that much money, I'd be pretty debaucherous. Why not? You just earn it back by hitting a few balls.
You make up words as you go, Kels, don't you?
I know.
Just before we get on to another topic, with a lot of money behind sport now, is that a good thing for sport, for the participants who probably weren't being paid? I mean, you look at rugby league players back when we were growing up, Lazar, and they all had day jobs.
Coppers,
the Manly rugby league,
concreters,
coppers or garbos, but they had jobs. Is this a good thing for the future?
And cricketers.
Yeah, is it? And does it make a nation healthier if we get kids incentivised by money to get fitter?
I think that...
So they can be successful.
I think the local... I've still got a mate called Dizzy. He still runs around for the Willoughby Roos. He's be turning 50 this year, but he still plays first grade for the Willoughby Roos. But what the local clubs like that do, they get jobs for these boys on the garbage trucks, on the concreting team to keep them fit for the football club. My mate, he was a panel beater, but then the club said to him, why don't we get you on the local council? We'll get you on the concrete. So, then you'll stay physically fit. And then he was a garbo for a while. So local clubs do that just to keep their players fit and well.
When you look at on the international scale of what sports people are paid, NRL players got to be the most underpaid of all, right? I mean, who's on $1 million in playing NRL a year?
There's a salary cap.
There's a few of them.
There is a salary cap.
Yeah, but there'd be one or two players in each club that'd be over $1 million.
Yeah, that's it.
But their contracts are back-ended, Adam. So you look at Tom Trbojevic, an absolute icon to the game, especially here in the Manly area. He and his father and his brother Jake go up to junior games. They cook a sausage sizzle. They are fantastic. And he is topping the Manly salary cap, and he's running busted. He's running busted. Now, I love the bloke, but he's got to go to allow more money to get other fresh players in. I hate to say it.
I mean, the Newcastle Knights, who's my club, they're notorious for signing someone for over $1 million and giving him a 10-year contract. We did it with Kalen Ponga. We've just done it with Dylan Brown. It's ridiculous. I mean, they're playing well at the moment. We're having a good season this year, but last year Kalen was out for over half the year. They were out for 4 weeks this year. We had $2 million plus sitting on the bench for 4 weeks. It is too much money.
The salary cap is the issue there, isn't it?
And I'll tell you just another observation, because I love talking about sport, and I know two of you do. But have you noticed in the NRL there are a lot of games now with really large scores, 38-42. Yeah. My opinion, and I'd love you guys to jump in on this, they've changed the rules and modified the game, which is great for the punter. It is a lot faster now. And you see, and people, there's an old saying in basketball, defense wins games, but offense puts bums on seats.
Yeah.
Now, I think the same with rugby league, where you see a lot of the wingers now, length of the field tries and diving for the corner. It's so great for the punters, but the forwards are buggered. And the defense has softened off, one, because of the new head rules, and no one wants a suspension. No club wants a suspension. I think the defense has softened off, but with the 6 again, and the fact that scrums are no longer competitive, you've got to get back your 10 metres a lot more than you used to. And I think the defence has dropped off because of fatigue and because of the rules, which has opened it up for the backs. And you're seeing a lot more of these large scores. Great for the punters, but I don't know. What do you make of it? It's only my observation.
Is it fair to say, Luke, that the teams are being thrashed more than they used to be? I mean, there was more points being scored, but it seems to be the one team that's scoring all the points against another team. That St George is being absolutely obliterated.
They've had a couple of close games. I think they do lack the playing power. There's another problem, Adam. You know more about it than me, Vice Captain, but I think another problem, one, the salary cap is supposed to make that fairer, and some people might argue a draft would be better, so long as it's a lottery, because we all saw what happened in the NBA. Teams that knew they had no chance of making the finals through games, so they had a bit of draft pick at the next draft round. So you make it a lottery. But player agents are a massive problem in rugby league. And these player agents don't give a shit, a lot of them, about their clients. They're after their commission. And the player agents, Larry, can not only own the players, but the coaches. You have a team where the coach is managed by a player manager as well. Oh. So there's no way in the world a manager wants his player to go to a team that's going to be shit because he's not going to get representative games, he won't get state of origin, and the manager misses out on his bonuses when the player gets their bonuses. So they stack a team where the coach is managed by the manager, the players are managed by the manager, and the CEOs and the clubs have got virtually no say. The clubs are at the mercy of these managers.
I think what you find with, especially these big scores, the sports science that goes into these games now compared to the 1980s is huge. Like these wingers.
But why are we seeing so many hamstrings?
These wingers are as big as front rowers now, and they can run like the wind. So what I think you'll find is all these big boppers like Steve Roach and Noel Cleal and all those greats from the past, those sort of guys are going to be faded out.
Paul Surinam.
And those guys are going to be faded out, and you're going to just have a whole side of wing three-quarters and a couple of halves.
So how do you think in today's game, the Chief...
Terrible. He wouldn't...
Paul Harrigan...
He wouldn't stand up.
Spud Gillespie, Mark Carroll...
They wouldn't go anywhere. They wouldn't go anywhere. You look at Fanua Blake, dudes like that. They play 80 minutes in the front row, some of these big boys. And then you got...
Yeah, but the scrums...
Then you got guys like Dominic Young at the Knights. Like, he's 6'4", and he can almost run a 10-second 100. Yeah. He's 105 kilos.
But they're so susceptible to injury. They're so highly strung, Lazar. You look at Trbojevic and his hamstring. He's busted. And you see groin strains and hamstring injuries more than ever in my memory.
Absolutely. That's because they're getting bigger and faster.
Every time I go to a game, and it's not as often as I would like, particularly from a Dragon supporter, the sound of those first few tackles, the noise it makes. It's like two cars going head on and smashing into each other. And I think, how has that guy just got up from that?
Well, look at
Jake
Trbojevic and his headgear that he has to wear now because he's had so many concussions.
Yeah, but the headgear doesn't stop concussion, Adam. It can stop you bruising or getting cut. Your brain is still inside your skull being shaken around. And those traumatic head injuries are really, really serious. And you're talking about a high-contact sport. And in American football, where they have helmets, doesn't stop concussion. And in fact, what happened was they felt invincible and they were using themselves as battering rams, thinking that they couldn't be hurt, but they were still getting concussion.
Are we far off that? Are we far off helmets, NRL?
No,
what happened to shoulder pads? Remember Ray Price? Yeah. What happened to shoulder pads?
But that's why they do a lot of training around tackling techniques. It's not about like hitting, because you're going to hit the body hard, but it's trying to teach players how to tackle safely but effectively.
Taking the shoulder charge out of the game. Where like you mentioned it before, Spud and Chief just running at 100 miles an hour towards each other,
frightening,
and just no care for self-preservation, just hitting each other. But now taking that out of the game, it has made it a lot safer.
So what do you think then, Larry and Adam and Kelsey? Do you think then the big money is a draw card, but do you think lots of parents now are looking at these head injuries and thinking, 100%. I'm going to channel my son to soccer or basketball or golf or tennis?
Every mother I know, and small sample size here, but every mother I know who's like around my age has explicitly said my kid will not play footy.
Yeah.
Rugby league?
Either or, anyone that involves tackling.
Wonder Boy played for the Newtown Jets when he was maybe 6 or 7, and there was kids that he was playing against that were a foot taller and 50 kilos heavier. Like it just wasn't a thing. He was lucky, he was quick. But now he's a mixed martial artist, so I'm screwed either way.
But just stay with that. Just stay with that thought, Vice Captain. Here on the northern beaches, over the last 20 years, we have gathered a very large islander population. And it was happening around the time my son Jacob, my boy's 35, can you believe it?
He must be old.
But when you sent me a birthday message.
I did. I didn't know you were that old. I just
Last
sent you
Sunday.
flowers.
Last Sunday, Sergeant Pepper's Side 2, Track 2. But when Jacob was playing for the Forestville Ferrets as a junior, that was the team. Shut up.
What a name.
I've got a newspaper clipping of him playing. He got in the Manly Daily. But he was playing against these Islander kids at the same age, but they were 80 kilo, or maybe not 80 kilos, but they were 60, 65 kilos. And some of them, their birth certificates couldn't be found. But they were. But
get off it. They're just biologically built.
It's not their fault, and yet they still have the developed brain of a 13, 14-year-old, but they've got the body of a man. So it's not these kids' fault. It's not their fault. But as a parent, you're going to say, Jesus Christ. So people say, okay, wage for 8. You've got a 12-year-old boy who weighs the same as a 20-year-old. Let's put that 14-year-old boy in that team. No, his brain hasn't developed. He doesn't understand the game like a 20-year-old. He'll get hammered.
That's right.
It's not fair. I don't know what the answer is. You guys discuss.
Did you ever play, Luke?
I played rugby union in the under-8s for Narrabeen Tigers, B grade, and we won the comp. And I didn't even know till my mate turned up the next year with the pennant. I said, what's that for? He said, we won the comp. I was the lock, and I didn't make one scrum because I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
I played one game. And got tackled.
But anyway, what do you do about contact sports where the money now might make it attractive, but the physical repercussions, concussions, are very real problems to parents? Kelsey, what do you say?
It's up to the sporting bodies to.
How do you fix it, Kels?
Well, there's already work being done. Like Tamana Tahu, he is working with the University of Newcastle to research these tackling techniques. And then it's up to the sporting bodies to make sure that those techniques are like part of the rules, or like all has to come from the top. You know, they're the ones that set the rules. So it has to come from there up. But of course, then the argument is then the game gets boring or whatever.
Yeah,
but
Kelsey, the punters want to see gladiatorial violence. And that's what the game was built on. I'm not saying it's right.
You're just going to have like a small pool of kids to choose from, because I do not know a single mother that would allow their kid to play.
And even if you did re-educate and with tackling techniques, I'm telling you this: if you're tackled completely legally around the waist, and then 2 other players jump on top of you whilst you're being tackled, and one's holding your ankles, the other 2 are over the top, and your leg goes the wrong way, Kelsey, ACL, bang, gone.
Remember
career
Alex
ending.
McKinnon?
When your ACL goes, even after surgery, you're never the same. Vice Captain?
Yeah.
Remember Alex McKinnon?
It looked like a nothing tackle.
Newcastle. Wasn't that terrible? Cameron Smith is still arguing about Cameron Smith was still there arguing about the penalty, and this bloke is on his back, and his neck's broken. It was unbelievable. So, getting back to Larry Canning, the huge money associated with cricket, IPL, and LIV Golf, which I think is on its way out. Is that a good thing? Are we now attracting more kids to play non-contact sports where they can see a monetary pot of gold at the end of the rainbow?
Anything that draws a young person, girl or boy, to a nice clean game like golf, and having to go back just a second to your point, the sports washing, the Saudi Arabian money. There's definitely a political point to be made by the supporters of that argument, and I'm on it. But by and large, the game of golf is a wonderful game, and it does teach the kids a lot about values, integrity. You call your own penalties on yourself. A group of young golfers in a team, it's great to see. I've worked really hard over when I was younger to encourage young kids to play the game, to be part of a golf team. I used to get parents, Luke. I had one in particular that her son was going off the rails completely. He was part of the golf squad, then he went away, and I got him back in and away from where he was heading, which was a really bad place. And she still thanks me for it, and it's like years and years later. So that's the tool, that's the instrument. Now, if more money it encourages that, creates that, gives that more of a vacuum feel that stuck in these young kids in to not only learn all these great values but earn a bucket load of cash, I think it can only be a good thing.
Adam, your boy is very, very involved in his discipline, and of course the ultimate UFC fighting thing is attracting a lot of money, and that also has its injuries.
Sure.
It has its head injuries associated with it, but money will attract people to that. But the one thing I'll let you finish, Adam. Your boy learnt enormous amount of discipline from
So he started in all these team games, and he always just ended up in a terrible team. He never won a game of anything. So he was really disillusioned. So I said to him, "Why don't you try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? You know, it's a one-man sport. So if you lose, it's your fault. You can't sook about Timmy dropping the ball or Johnny not playing well enough." And he took to it like a duck to water. He does tournaments. I mean, he's moved on. He still does a lot of tournaments with just jiu-jitsu, and it's wonderful. It's a good, clean sport. There's no hitting. It's basically wrestling. It's like a human chess match, and the discipline taught him to go to the gym every day, to listen to his coaches, and to look after himself. Like, the guy is fit as a mallee bull, this kid. He's 18. He's a wonderful boy. And,
yes,
and I put it all down to the discipline of a martial arts like jiu-jitsu.
Okay, Kelsey, if you and Nathan ever decide to have children, if you can afford children, male or female, boy or girl, what sport would you be pushing them towards?
Well, if they end up with my thighs, they can do whatever they want because powerful. But Nathan's thighs, I don't know. I'd have to think about
Jesus, I wasn't ready for that.
built like brick shit houses, Mum and I like to say. But I don't know. I think it depends on I really think it depends on the kid, right? Like, it depends on their demeanor, their attitude, their like natural sporting. Maybe my kid will hate sport and want to be an artist. So I don't know. Just whatever they're vibing at the time is kind of what we'll go towards. But yeah.
Well, I got to tell you this: the most memorable sporting event in my mind, and I've seen a lot of them, was Kathy winning at Sydney 2000. And the amount of not just Aboriginal kids, but kids in general that took up little athletics because of Kathy was just job done, well done. But there's no money in that, or is there?
No, wouldn't appear to be.
We had a lot of other topics to talk about today, but I'm glad we stuck with this. It's really interesting. And it involves not just golf lovers, but sports lovers and parents and kids playing sport. If you have any thoughts, leave us a voice message, 0291289311, Luke Boner Radio Guy at gmail.com. And Lazza, we have merchandise. Kelsey, the store is open.
Oh,
wait.
Go ahead.
What did you... Oh, yeah, we have merchandise.
Thanks for listening, Kelsey. Well done.
That was exciting, wasn't
it? She's carrying a head injury. Sorry.
Whatever. Well, I don't know what to bloody say about it. Yes, it's available.
We have stickers. We have coffee cups. We have caps. We have T-shirts.
Oh, can I get a cap?
Yes. Oh, hells yeah.
Would you wear it?
Absolutely, always.
But yeah, Adam, what are you getting up to?
Yeah, what's coming up? Evans Hastings. What have you got?
I've got a really interesting story. I've got a 1977 Ford LTD coming in this week. Now, there's a bit of a story behind this LTD. Nice. This was bought brand new off the lot. It was driven for 2 days by a couple. Then they had this massive blow up, and the wife poured brake fluid all over the LTD. So then it was parked in a garage, and it's never seen the light of day since. So you imagine
what?
Yeah. So it would have been. What would have done under it. It's just all the paint's bubbled. It's an easy fix though. The running gear, the interior, everything's perfect on this thing. It just needs a paint job. So just the story behind that is wonderful. Oh, and I've also got a 1982 Bosendorfer grand piano that'll go up online in a couple of days.
How much?
I'm looking for about 30 for it.
Is it black?
It's beautiful.
Oh, does it have the 3 pedals or just the sustain and dampener?
It's got the 3.
And does it have a duet stool?
This piano.
How much would something like that go for?
I'm looking for 30,000.
Wow!
I'm looking for 30,000. It's perfect. I had someone from the university come over and play it the other day. It is absolutely perfect.
Oh, you can play
it on the piano.
I have my mum's Beale upright that I inherited, and I play it every day, but I don't play it when Nikki's here because she's a very hard marker. And I'll be trying to play something, and I play by ear. I can't read, which is a shame. Nikki and Kelsey are great music readers. I can't. And I'll be playing something, and Nikki will yell out, "That's B sharp." So I play it every day, but when Nikki's not here. Adam, I've got some homework for you, me, brother. Okay, you know how I have my Thunderbird 2 and my Thunderbird 4? There's something else I would love on my shelf in my man cave, and I saw it in the background of somebody else's podcast the other day, and I said, I've got to get that. Can you keep an eye out for an original Gumby and Pokey?
Oh, yes.
Now, just explain to Kelsey what I'm talking about. She'll find it now. This was the TV show. Remember, Larry?
Yeah. Oh,
It was like plasticine animation, wasn't it? Originally?
Yes.
It was exactly that.
Yep.
It was a TV show. It came out in America, or I think it was in America, in about 1956, but we had it as kids. And I had a Gumby, and there we are. I had but I don't want the new one. That Pokey doesn't look right. So, Adam, can you find me an original Gumby and a Pokey, and let me know what ballpark?
No worries. I'll report back next week.
Larry?
Oh, I'd love a little a Matchbox 1960, I think it's 9 Mustang.
Oh, yeah? That won't be hard to find.
A Matchbox 1969 Mustang?
Yeah, that's the one with the... Is that the one with the lights that flipped in? The one where the lights turn in?
Righto.
Was there a
pop-up
Mustang?
The pop-up headlights?
Sure there was.
I don't think there was a Mustang with pop-up headlights.
Might have been a Camaro.
No, you're talking about a Corvette.
Yeah. Oh, Camaro had the lights turned in, okay.
Camaros didn't have pop-up,
Okay,
I'm sure.
okay.
I think you're talking about a Corvette.
I just sold a Corvette last week.
The Corvettes had pop-up
I
headlights?
sold one last week. 19,000 I got for it.
Oh, that's pretty freaking
Just
good.
rattle that off like it was happens every day.
Well, the car department.
Well, it does for
The car
Adam.
department down here is going gangbusters. And like I told you last week, we've moved up into Newcastle. We're at Hamilton North. The rooms are up there. So in the next week or two, there's going to be 50 or so cars posted up in the Hunter region. So we're moving. There's also another branch we're going to open, but I can't talk about that too much yet. But there will be another.
Do you just go to the Evans Hastings website, or is there a different place?
Yeah, you can go to Evans Hastings for the antiques and collectibles, but go to Allbids for everything. Allbids.com.au, and then you'll find absolutely everything we're doing.
Vice Captain, great to see your beanie-clad head again.
Good to see you.
You take care of yourself, my brother. Thank you so much. Larry Canning, thanks to Callaway.
Thank you, Luke.
Lazar, how do people read your column? Because it's fantastic. You're a great writer.
Thank you, mate.
You really are. You're very, very good. You're very funny.
I don't believe they still pay me for it.
Inside Golf?
Inside Golf.
Inside Golf magazine. Larry Canning, thank you. Great discussion today. Vice Captains, I'll see you later. And Millennial, who looks a little bit like a cross between Princess Leia and an Ewok, dressed as Obi-Wan Kenobi. May the Force be with you.
The Force.
Oh, I've just done that's Star Trek. That's Star Trek.
Yeah, but
that's Live Long and Prosper. That's Live Long and Prosper.
Most
That's
people
Spock.
wouldn't have known that unless you said that, Luke.
What's wait, is there a hand signal for whatever you're talking about?
No.
Yeah, that's the Force.
Yeah.
The Force is right there.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Well, that's us for another one. But before you go, don't spend another night laying awake listening to things moving in the ceiling and the walls. If you want that peace of mind, well, get on the front foot and head to pestrol.com.au. Like I said, I've known Andrew for over 20 years, way over 20 years, as a matter of fact. He's a good mate, he's a good man, and his gear actually works. Otherwise, I wouldn't endorse it. If it's crawling, flying, or chewing, or messing up your bathroom, talking to you,
Hey.
Pestrol has the answer. Is there a product called Kels Be Gone? Grab what you need. Remember, this is important. Use the code BONA, B-O-N-A, to get your free delivery. And it helps us keep the lights on here at the show. Stay safe. Thank you so much. Thank you to Pestrol. Remember, if you want pests gone, rats, mice, possums, you name it, they have a product for everything. Pestrol.com.au. Love you, Andrew. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you, listeners, for listening to us. Share, like, tell everyone about it. And Millennial, just calm down. Calm.
Don't know.
Take a deep breath. I want to do it.
I'm calm. I'm calm. I'm calm.
I've got a thought.
Oh, God, yeah?
If you crack a beer at the end of the day to relax,
yeah,
is it okay to maybe open a few more to celebrate you relaxing?
Hells yeah.
Thank you.